Hello everyone again, this is BS Does Book Reviews number 2. For those who don't know, that's my rabbit Laco. Hi Laco, say hi to the camera. Yeah. So I'm doing some book reviews of the books that I've been reading lately because my girlfriend challenged me to do so. So that's what I'm doing. And this is the second video. I'm gonna tell you about the books that I read through October and this little bit of November. It's the 9th of November right now. So it's pretty much just 1 month of books worth. And I'm gonna start off with the first book that I read since the last video. And it's this one, Foundation and Earth. When I described this on the previous video, I actually got them mistaken. And this is the actual number 5th, and this is the actual end of the timeline for the Foundation series. This is when they finally find Earth, hence Foundation and Earth. And this is a very interesting finale to the Foundation series. I don't want to do any spoilers, so I'm gonna avoid talking about the story itself. I really like the Foundation series because they have both plot twists where you see the characters, you see them develop through time and space, but you don't really know all the underlying things there are behind, so there are always twists in the end. And some characters stand up more than you are led to believe from the narration of the book. It's also very interesting how he manages to mix action and traveling and discussing and talking about subjects. I really like how he puts the robots, how he managed to merge the robot universe with the Foundation universe. It really works, and it really makes you think about what robot means to mankind, what robots mean, how they try to save mankind, or how it can backfire. There are a lot of political and sociological issues on this, since wanting to be alone and secluded and wondering if that would lead to a better society. Dealing also with nuclear issues, nuclear threats, getting your planet radioactive and how that would work out, how people talk with each other, trade with each other. So a very in-depth series overall. I really liked reading it, and this is almost the conclusion of the series. There are 2 more volumes, which I'm already reading. I will be reviewing another one because I managed to read yet another one of this in this month, and I'm currently reading the very last one, which was published just shortly before Isaac Asimov died. So there won't be any more Foundation books, sadly enough. But yeah, it's been interesting. So this is really the last one on the timeline, and where you actually know what happens at the end of the galaxy. And well, there's a lot of room, of course, for imagining how the galaxy would develop after what happens in this book. But well, it's strange, and you have to read it. The ending was really interesting, intellectually speaking, let's call it that. Anyways, next book that I've read is actually a comic series called Saga. It's one of the best new contemporary comics that are out there. We just checked it out because the reviews were so great, and it really is very good. The characters are excellent, the development is excellent, the storyline is excellent, the drawings are excellent, everything about it is just top rate, top notch. It's for matured audiences. There is a lot of sex scenes, a lot of thinking about interracial issues, the problems of war, the traumas of being in war, and then there's some very interesting issues like what's it like, the struggle of raising a child and trying to do the best for your child, and keeping the family together, and how to meet your parents or the parents of your loved one, where they might not really accept you for who you are. So there's a lot of interesting plots and twists, a lot of sidelines. It's not just about these two guys and the little baby. There are a lot of other characters around it. All of them are very excellently designed. They're very unique. Each character is unique. There are a lot of races involved, and I can't praise it enough. It's really great. I read the first one, and Christina had also read the first one and totally recommended it to me. And when I read it, it's really, really good. And we just ordered all the other ones, and they're all great so far. They're all great. It's all fully colored, so it's really hardcore quality. Let's call it that. Anyways. Next, I'm not saying the ratings that I gave them. So Foundation and Earth, I give it a 4 out of 5. I don't know why I didn't give it a 5. I probably should have given it a 5, but well. And Saga, I give it a 5 out of 5. It's really good. I can't recommend it enough. Next book that I read was a classic by Alan Moore, The Watchmen. It got a lot of praise during the years. I had never read it, so it was lying around, so I decided to pick it up. It's very interesting because it talks about the different Watchmen, which is like a series of superheroes on the late end of the 80s in America, or even earlier than the 80s, probably 60s. I don't know. I'm not sure what timeline it is anymore, but it's passed mostly in America about superheroes. Some just dress themselves as superheroes and try to fight good. Others actually have superpowers, and it talks about that lore. And at the same time, there's a crime mystery going on. And each passing storyline, you get to know a little bit better each of the characters portrayed in the Watchmen, and each of them is very unique and not quite what you would expect at face value. So it really goes in depth into each of the characters, and while the storyline develops. It's in color, but it's old school drawing style, not very modern. And then the cool thing about it is that at some point there are some actual text in it, like 2 or 3 pages of it. Usually I think it's either at the end or at the beginning of a new chapter. Not quite sure because they're all bundled together, but they actually do it as like clip art of what other characters would write, or news clips of what someone wrote about that character that you're getting more into. So it gives you a different perspective than the usual storyline is giving you. So it's very interesting in that way. There was also another issue that I wanted to mention, which I don't recall right now. I'm flicking through, see if I remember. Well, the crime line, the crime storyline is very interesting. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. Sometimes there are some dual storylines happening at the same time. Usually, it regards the pirate scene and what's actually happening currently. So they are on the same comic strip. They are talking about 2 scenes at the same time and changing between them. So it's very cinematic, and there's a parallel between what's happening in this Caribbean zombie pirate scenario and what's happening on the current American system with the heroes and the villains and the crime that's happening lately, and they managed to combine that very well. It can be a bit hard to follow, but it's very interesting, very well done, very smartly done. And then it ties because you find out about the writer of those series as well afterwards. So it really matches very well. They managed to fit the characters very well into together. So it's very, very smartly done. So I can highly recommend it. It's a very good book. I really enjoyed catching up with it, and some of the characters, mostly Rorschach. I really liked Rorschach. Some of the characters are very, very interesting. I give it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. So yeah, that was a good one as well. Next one I read was actually in Portuguese, but it's also a comic. It's by Manara. It's called Curtas Metragens, and it's Manara is known for doing a lot of pin-up and erotic stuff, but in a joking way. So the style is very what you would expect from a Franco-Belgian school, or that you call the European school of drawing. But then there's a lot of comic stuff, and they give a lot of free how do you call it? Free shots for the entertainment of the viewer. Like, there is no point in making the girl bend over like that, but you know, young teenagers would rather see the girl bend up like that, so he just draws her like that. And there are a lot of scenes like that, but well, he specializes in pin-up stuff, so it would be expected. I didn't really like it that much. The drawings are okay, but I've grown out of the puberty age by now, so I don't really find that interesting, all the pin-up and kind of jokes anymore. So I give it a 3 out of 5 because it's still good, just not that much interesting anymore. The next book that I read is called The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This was it's a South Korean author. It was translated into English, got an award for the best international translation or something, the Man Booker International Prize. I actually had seen an interview with a person who translated it, or heard an interview, I think it was a radio interview, because my girlfriend had also read it and was curious about it. And it was interesting to hear about the translating experience and then actually reading the book. The book is very good. It's very short. It only has 3 stories, but they all follow the timeline of this woman who one day had a dream and decided that she should be vegetarian. She doesn't like eating meat anymore. And the husband doesn't really like that concept very much, and her fathers and family also don't really like that concept very much. And well, some things happen. I don't really want to spoil it much, but well, it's she's not a vegetarian because she cares a lot about her diet, particularly. The dream gets very dark, and then throughout the story it has an artistic and erotic side to it as well, which completely has nothing to do with the horror that was the first story. So the second story is a lot more artistic and interesting. I really like the second story the best, even though it has this weird erotic vibe, which would be fine, except that I was reading it on the subway, and it was really weird to be reading hardcore erotic artistic stuff while, you know, people are talking about grocery shopping or playing stuff next to you in the carriage. But well, it is what it is, and it was an interesting read. I really liked it. The third chapter is more dark, but it's also more philosophical. And well, it's interesting. I don't want to spoil the storyline any more than I have, so I recommend it. It was a good read. I only gave it a 3 out of 5 because I was expecting a bit more. I probably should have given it a 4. I think the stories were too short, maybe, and that's the issue. Or maybe the third one didn't really do that for me. It just dragged on a lot. But I especially liked the second one. The first one was interesting. The second one was really good. The third one just seemed to drag out, so I decided to just give it a 3. But it probably could have merited a 4. I recommend it anyways. last book, or the next book, I still have a few more, but they are comics. The last book that I have is the Prelude to Foundation, also by Isaac Asimov. I already talked about the fifth earlier in this video. This is the sixth. And the sixth one is about the beginning of the psychoscience, psychohistory science, how it came to be. So it goes back to the beginning, before the first Foundation story took place. So it's a prequel, and it's about the story of Harry Seldon and how he came to explore Trantor, and it started figuring out how psychohistory could actually work. Because in the beginning of the movie, it's just a theory of his that psychohistory could work. And well, I didn't explain what psychohistory is. Psychohistory, according to Harry Seldon, is a science that can predict what human people will do when you follow a certain rules. So within a certain boundaries, you can estimate with a certain degree of probability that they are likely to do this. And it can be applied to masses of people. So he uses that science to predict how the universe or the galaxy will evolve during time, and try to minimize the consequences to the galaxy when the Empire collapses, which is doomed to happen. We already knew that from the previous Foundations, and this one just reinforces why the Empire is currently, the Galactic Empire is currently dying. So yeah, it's very interesting. Highly recommend it. I gave it a... How much did I give it? I gave it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, 4 out of 5. Yeah, it's very good. Then next we have more sagas. So we guarded the rest of the sagas. I'm actually missing volume 2 and 3 here because my girlfriend kidnapped them. Don't know where they are. But I read the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they're all bloody good. They're all very worth doing. They talk about very different topics. They're all X-rated, so if you are queasy with naked people or naked fictional characters and having sex and gay topics and transsexual topics and people killing each other and people randomly dying in a very brute way, I wouldn't really recommend it, but otherwise it's really good and I would really recommend it. So yeah, I don't want to spoil the storyline, so I won't go much deeper into it. Just say that it's really good and I wasn't disappointed. The fourth one wasn't really that good. I don't know, maybe it got a bit too soap opera. Didn't really move along very much. The ending was good though. And 5 and 6 were really good again, so I gave this one the 4 out of 5. And the other two, I gave them 5 out of 5. And also Saga 2 and Saga 3, I also gave them a 5 out of 5. So, yeah. And I actually, it was weird because I would check in reviews and people were actually saying the other way around, that the 4 was really good and then the 5 was not so good. But I disagree, the 5 was really excellent. So, I don't know. People are just different, I guess. Anyways, I think that's it for the books that I have today, that I've been reading recently. It's all of these, so it's a lot of books for 1 month. Most of them are comics, so they're not that hard to read. The hardest to read were really the Foundations. Hard in terms of you really need to spend a lot of hours in it, because the writing style is really fluid. So you can really, if you're not careful, you can really spend 1 or 2 hours just reading and end up finishing it rather quickly. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, any suggestions, if you, I don't know, if you want to say anything, just say anything, you know. random comments that people say on book review stuff, feel free to do so. I'm always welcome to hear them. So goodbye. See you next time when I have some more books to review, or maybe a TBR of the stuff that I'm planning to read. Who knows? So bye bye. Take care.